Subscribe to Storylab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Tyler Morrison had built his life like a fortress, methodically, deliberately, with every stone placed exactly where it belonged. At 38, he owned Morrison Security Solutions, a private investigation firm that specialized in corporate espionage and personal protection. His clients included Fortune 500 executives, politicians, and anyone wealthy enough to afford his discretion. Tyler had learned early that information was the ultimate currency, and he'd spent 15 years collecting debts in that currency. His wife, Amanda, had been his college sweetheart at Northwestern. She came from old money. Her father owned a chain of luxury hotels across the Midwest. Beautiful, charming, and socially connected, Amanda had been the perfect complement to Tyler's ambitions. They'd married young, and she'd helped him navigate the social circles that built his business. Their twins, Caleb and Emma, were now 14, and Tyler believed he'd given them everything: stability, security, a future without the chaos he'd known growing up in Detroit's roughest neighborhoods. Tyler's brother Danny was everything Tyler wasn't: charismatic where Tyler was calculating, impulsive where Tyler was measured. 2 years younger, Danny had charmed his way through life, always landing on his feet despite his reckless decisions. He worked as Tyler's head of operations, handling the flashier assignments while Tyler managed the strategic elements. Their parents, Frank and Margaret Morrison, had always favored Danny's easy smile over Tyler's methodical nature. Tyler had learned to accept this dynamic, believing that blood ran deeper than favoritism. But blood, Tyler would discover, could be surprisingly thin. The first crack in Tyler's fortress appeared on a Tuesday morning in November. His assistant, Brooke, had been acting strangely for weeks. Nervous glances, hushed phone calls, an unwillingness to meet his eyes. Tyler's instincts, honed by years of reading people's deceptions, screamed warnings. When Brooke submitted her resignation that morning, citing personal reasons, Tyler knew something was fundamentally wrong. That evening, Tyler sat in his study reviewing case files when Amanda entered, her face flushed from what she claimed was her book club meeting. She was lying. Tyler had confirmed weeks ago that her book club had disbanded 6 months earlier. He'd been patient, waiting for her to reveal whatever game she was playing. But patience, he was learning, could be a liability. "Tyler, we need to talk," Amanda said, her voice carrying an unfamiliar edge. "About us. About our future." Before Tyler could respond, his phone buzzed with a text from Danny. "Family meeting tomorrow. Mom and Dad want to discuss some changes." That night, Tyler lay awake staring at the ceiling, his mind cataloging every strange conversation, every unexplained absence, every subtle shift in the people around him. In his business, patterns were everything, and the pattern emerging around him looked disturbingly like a conspiracy. The next evening, Tyler arrived at his parents' house for what he assumed would be another routine family dinner. The Morrison family had gathered every Thanksgiving for as long as Tyler could remember, a tradition his mother insisted upon despite the growing tensions that seemed to simmer beneath every conversation. Danny was already there, looking unusually comfortable as he helped their mother set the table. Amanda arrived separately, claiming car trouble, though Tyler noticed she parked 3 blocks away, a detail his surveillance training made impossible to ignore. During dinner, the conversation felt rehearsed, as if everyone except Tyler was following a script. Finally, as Tyler carved the turkey, his father cleared his throat with the authority that had once run a successful construction company. "Tyler, your mother and I have been talking," Frank began, his voice carrying the weight of a decision already made. "We've been reviewing our will, our estate planning." Tyler continued carving, though every instinct told him to prepare for impact. "We're cutting you from the will," his parents declared in unison, their voices sharp and final. "Your brother deserves everything." Tyler's hands stilled on the carving knife. Around the table, he could feel the shift in atmosphere. Anticipation, satisfaction, the electric charge of a plan reaching its climax. "Danny's been more supportive," his mother continued, her voice carrying years of accumulated disappointment. "More family-oriented. You've always been so cold." So calculating. Danny cares about this family. Tyler looked up to find Danny watching him with something that might have been pity. Beside Danny, Amanda was staring at her plate, but Tyler caught the slight upturn of her lips. Not quite hidden satisfaction. Under the table, Tyler noticed Amanda's hand move, and he followed its path to find her fingers interlaced with Danny's. The gesture was casual, comfortable, familiar. How long had this been going on? How long had he been the only one not in on the joke? I see, Tyler said quietly, setting down the carving knife with precise control. And I assume this decision is unanimous? The silence that followed was answer enough. Later that evening, Amanda waited until the twins were asleep before delivering her own rehearsed blow. Tyler was in his study, ostensibly reviewing files, but actually calculating the scope of the betrayal that seemed to encompass his entire life. I want a divorce, Amanda announced from the doorway, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who believed they held all the cards. And the kids hate you anyways. They've told me they want to live with me full-time. Tyler looked up from his files, studying his wife's face with the same analytical detachment he brought to his work. The kids hate me? You never hear, Tyler. You're always working, always plotting, always treating everyone like they're suspects in one of your cases. Caleb asked me last week why his father doesn't trust anyone, including his own family. Each word was carefully chosen, designed for maximum impact. Tyler recognized the technique. He taught similar psychological manipulation to his own operatives. They've been asking about Danny too, Amanda continued. About why Uncle Danny makes them laugh when Daddy just makes them nervous. Tyler felt something cold settle in his chest. Not heartbreak, exactly, but the recognition of a game played better than he'd anticipated. You have until midnight to pack your things and leave, Amanda said, delivering what she clearly believed was the killing blow. Danny will be moving in tomorrow to help with the transition. The children need stability. Tyler glanced at his watch. 9:47 p.m. That's generous of you. Don't make this harder than it has to be, Tyler. You know this marriage has been over for years. We're just making it official. Tyler began packing with the same methodical precision he brought to everything else. 3 suitcases of clothes, his laptop, essential documents, and a small safe containing backup drives of his most sensitive files. As he worked, he could hear Amanda on the phone, her voice bright with the excitement of someone who believed they just won the lottery. At 11:58 p.m., Tyler loaded his car and drove away from the house he'd bought, the family he'd built, the life he'd architected stone by stone. As he turned onto the highway, his phone began buzzing with notifications, texts, missed calls, voicemails piling up faster than he could process them. His father's voice cut through the car speakers as Tyler activated the hands-free system. Tyler, where are you? Something's wrong. Something's very wrong. Call me back immediately. The panic in Frank Morrison's voice was unmistakable. 12 more calls followed before Tyler reached the highway, each one more desperate than the last. By the time Tyler pulled into a roadside motel 40 miles outside the city, his voicemail was full. Tyler sat in his car, engine off, staring at the phone that continued to buzz with increasing urgency. Because Tyler Morrison had spent 15 years building a business based on one simple principle. Information was power. And the information he'd been quietly collecting for the past 6 months about his family, his wife, his brother, and everyone who just betrayed him was about to become very valuable indeed. The game was just beginning. Tyler spent his first week of exile in a series of anonymous motels, paying cash and avoiding electronic trails while he processed the scope of the betrayal. But Tyler Morrison hadn't built a successful investigation firm by wallowing in self-pity. He'd built it by turning other people's secrets into leverage. On day 8, Tyler rented a small office space in a strip mall 2 hours from his former life. The space came with the advantage of being owned by Rex Valdez, a former client whose gambling debts Tyler had helped resolve discreetly. Rex asked no questions and accepted 6 months' rent in cash without requiring a credit check or references. Tyler's first call was to Malik Stevens, his most trusted operative. Malik had spent 10 years in Army intelligence before Tyler recruited him, and he possessed the rare combination of absolute loyalty and flexible ethics that made him invaluable. "Boss," Where the hell have you been? Malik's voice carried genuine concern. Brooke's been telling everyone you took a sudden leave of absence, but that's bullshit. What's really going on? Tyler outlined the situation in clinical terms, watching Malik's expression shift from confusion to understanding to something that looked like anticipation. So your entire family coordinated to screw you over, Malik summarized. And Brooke was feeding them information the whole time. Brooke had access to my calendar, my contacts, my case files, Tyler confirmed. She knew exactly when I'd be vulnerable. What's the play, boss? Tyler had been asking himself the same question. In his business, revenge was usually a luxury clients couldn't afford. Too messy, too many variables, too much risk of exposure. But Tyler wasn't bound by client limitations. And the people who'd betrayed him had made a critical error. They'd assumed Tyler would play by conventional rules. We're going to remind them why information is the ultimate currency, Tyler said, and why they should have been more careful about the information they gave me access to. Tyler's investigation into his family's conspiracy began with financial records. Amanda had been sloppy, probably assuming Tyler was too trusting to monitor their joint accounts. The pattern was clear: regular withdrawals over the past 8 months, always in amounts just below the threshold that would trigger automatic notifications. The money had funded apartment deposits, furniture purchases, and romantic dinners at restaurants Tyler had never visited. But the real revelation came when Tyler accessed Amanda's email account using the password she'd used for everything since college. Their anniversary date followed by their zip code. Amateur hour. The email trail revealed a level of planning that was almost impressive. Amanda and Danny had been conducting their affair for nearly 2 years, but the conspiracy to destroy Tyler's life was more recent. Roughly 10 months of coordination that included his parents, Brooke, and even some of Tyler's business associates. The triggering event, Tyler discovered, was a conversation between Amanda and Danny about Tyler's investigation methods. Amanda had grown increasingly paranoid that Tyler suspected her infidelity, and she'd convinced Danny that Tyler was gathering evidence for a divorce that would leave her with nothing. Their solution was elegantly simple: destroy Tyler's support system before he could use it against them. But Tyler hadn't been gathering evidence against Amanda. Until now, Tyler's second week of exile was spent establishing new identities and resources. Through contacts in his professional network, he acquired clean credit cards, a secured phone line, and access to databases that technically didn't exist. The beauty of Tyler's business was that his clients often required services that existed in legal gray areas, and Tyler had built relationships with people who specialized in making difficult problems disappear. One such person was Luna Park, a cybersecurity expert who'd helped Tyler's clients deal with corporate espionage. Luna operated from a converted warehouse in Cleveland, surrounded by enough computer equipment to run a small country. She was also facing federal indictment for activities Tyler had helped her avoid prosecution for, which made her uniquely motivated to assist with Tyler's current project. What you're asking for is basically financial assassination, Luna said, reviewing Tyler's specifications. You want to systematically destroy their credit, their business relationships, their employment prospects, and their legal standing without leaving any traceable evidence back to you. Can you do it? Luna smiled, and Tyler remembered why his clients found her both invaluable and terrifying. Tyler, these people fucked with the wrong guy. By the time I'm done, they'll be begging you to take them back. I don't want them to beg, Tyler said quietly. I want them to pay. While Luna worked her digital magic, Tyler focused on the human element. His family's conspiracy depended on everyone maintaining their assigned roles, but Tyler had leverage they'd forgotten about. He knew everyone's secrets. Brooke, for instance, had been embezzling from petty cash for 3 years. Tyler had discovered this early, but chose to manage the situation rather than prosecute, because Brooke's guilt made her extraordinarily loyal. Until it didn't. Danny's gambling problem had cost him nearly $200,000 over the past 5 years. Debts Tyler had quietly settled to protect the family's reputation. Danny's current bookmaker, a gentleman named Vincent Torres who operated out a restaurant in Little Italy, was very interested in collecting on some recent losses that Danny couldn't cover. Tyler's parents had their own vulnerabilities. Frank Morrison's construction company had cut corners on a city project 2 years earlier, resulting in structural problems that could cost the city millions if they came to light. Tyler had helped cover up the issue as a favor to his father. Margaret Morrison's volunteer work with a children's charity had provided her access to funds she'd been borrowing for personal expenses, always with the intention of paying them back. Eventually, Amanda's secrets were more personal but equally damaging. Her family's hotel business was built on a foundation of tax evasion and immigration violations that went back decades. Amanda's father trusted Tyler implicitly, often asking for advice on security matters that revealed more than he intended. Amanda also had a prescription drug problem that she'd managed to keep hidden from everyone except Tyler, who'd helped her find discreet treatment options. But Tyler's most valuable asset wasn't information, it was patience. While his family celebrated their victory, Tyler spent 6 weeks building a comprehensive understanding of their lives, their schedules, their relationships, and their weaknesses. He learned that Amanda was already struggling to manage the twins' increasingly hostile behavior toward Danny. He discovered that his parents were fighting about money more frequently as Frank's construction contracts dried up. He found out that Brooke had been hired by a competitor of Tyler's, apparently as part of a larger scheme to steal his client base. By the beginning of January, Tyler was ready to begin Phase 2 of his education program. The first lesson was delivered to Brooke via an anonymous tip to the IRS about unreported income and fraudulent tax filings. The audit that followed would eventually reveal 3 years of embezzlement from Tyler's company. But more importantly, it would freeze Brooke's assets while she tried to prove her innocence. Her new employer, unwilling to be associated with potential financial crimes, would terminate her contract within weeks. The second lesson was financial. Luna's work began manifesting as a series of seemingly unrelated computer glitches that affected Amanda and Danny's credit reports, banking relationships, and employment records. Nothing traceable, nothing that looked intentional, but enough cumulative damage to create serious problems. Danny's gambling debts, meanwhile, were purchased by an investment group that took a more aggressive approach to collection. When Danny couldn't make payments, the group began seizing assets, starting with his car and moving toward more valuable property. Tyler's parents discovered that their insurance policies had been canceled due to administrative errors that would take months to resolve. Frank's construction company faced sudden inspections from city officials who seemed unusually interested in past projects. Margaret's charity work was scrutinized by an anonymous whistleblower who'd reported financial irregularities. Each setback was small, individually explainable, but collectively devastating. Tyler watched from his anonymous office as his family's carefully planned celebration transformed into a desperate scramble for stability. But Tyler wasn't just destroying, he was also building. Through shell companies and intermediaries, Tyler began acquiring assets his family was forced to sell. Danny's car was purchased by a company Tyler controlled. Frank's construction equipment was bought by Tyler's associates at bankruptcy prices. Even Amanda's jewelry, pawned to cover emergency expenses, found its way into Tyler's possession. By February, Tyler owned substantial pieces of the lives that had been stolen from him. But ownership wasn't the goal. Control was. The call came on a Thursday morning in March. Tyler was reviewing Luna's latest progress report when his phone buzzed with a number he hadn't seen in 4 months. His parents' landline. Tyler. His mother's voice was barely recognizable, strained, desperate, aged by months of accumulating disasters. Tyler, please. We need to talk. Hello. Margaret, Tyler said, using his mother's name rather than the familial title she expected. I was wondering when I'd hear from you. Tyler, something terrible is happening. Everything is falling apart. Danny's in some kind of trouble with dangerous people. She's been making mistakes. And your father's business is, we might lose the house, Tyler. Tyler let the silence stretch, savoring the reversal of power dynamics. The family is falling apart without you, Margaret continued. We made a mistake. A terrible mistake. Can you come home? Can we fix this? I am home, Tyler replied. I'm exactly where you wanted me to be. That afternoon, Tyler met his family at a restaurant downtown, neutral territory, public enough to prevent emotional outbursts. They looked like people who'd been living under siege for months, which was essentially accurate. Danny appeared to have lost 20 pounds and developed a persistent tremor in his hands. Amanda's usual polished appearance had given way to the drawn look of someone living on stimulants and anxiety. Tyler's parents looked older, smaller, defeated. "Tyler," his father began, his voice carrying none of its former authority. "We've been thinking about the will, about the family businesses. Maybe we were hasty. Maybe—" Tyler's voice was conversational, almost pleasant. "The kids miss you," Amanda interjected. "They've been asking about their father constantly. Caleb especially. He's been acting out at school." Tyler had been monitoring his children's situation through discreet channels. Both twins were indeed struggling with the family chaos, and their resentment toward Danny had grown toxic. Amanda was medicating her stress with increasing doses of prescription amphetamines, making her erratic and paranoid. The stable environment she'd promised was anything but. "What exactly are you proposing?" Tyler asked. "Come back," Danny said, speaking for the first time. His voice was hoarse, desperate. "Come back and we'll fix everything. We'll make it right." Tyler studied his brother's face, the face that had charmed teachers, parents, and women throughout their lives. Now it was the face of a man who discovered that charm couldn't solve every problem. "Fix everything?" Tyler repeated. "The way you fix my marriage? The way you fix my relationship with my children? The way you fix my trust in my family?" "We were wrong," Margaret whispered. "We were so wrong, Tyler. Please forgive us." Tyler looked around the table at the people who'd orchestrated his exile, who'd celebrated his downfall, who divided his life among themselves like spoils of war. For a moment, he almost felt sorry for them. Almost. "Here's what's going to happen," Tyler said, his voice calm and final. "Amanda, you're going to sign divorce papers that give me primary custody of the twins and split of assets that reflects your adultery. You're going to enter a rehabilitation program for your prescription drug addiction, and you're going to stay there until I'm confident you're not a danger to my children." Amanda started to protest, but Tyler continued without acknowledging her. "Danny, you're going to transfer your shares in Morrison Security Solutions to me for the price of $1. You're also going to publicly acknowledge your affair with my wife and the conspiracy to defraud me of my inheritance. After that, you're going to leave Chicago and not contact any member of this family again." Danny's face went white. "Tyler, you can't." "Mother, father," Tyler continued, "you're going to revise your will to reflect your original intentions before Danny convinced you to disinherit me. You're also going to sign over control of Dad's construction company to me, since you're clearly unable to manage it effectively." "And if we refuse?" Frank asked, though his voice suggested he already knew the answer. Tyler smiled, the same cold, calculating expression that had once made his enemies reconsider their positions. "Then Luna publishes everything. Every financial irregularity, every hidden debt, every criminal act, every family secret we've collected over the past 15 years. Brooke's embezzlement trial becomes a public scandal that destroys whatever professional reputation you think you have left. Danny's gambling debts get sold to people who don't accept payment plans. Amanda's drug problem becomes a matter of public record in custody hearings that will be covered by every local news outlet. And the construction fraud that Dad thinks he buried, that becomes the centerpiece of a federal investigation." Tyler placed a folder on the table, thick with documents and photographs. "I've had 5 months to prepare this conversation," he said. 5 months to collect evidence, to build cases, to construct the kind of trap that destroys lives completely. Everyone who betrayed me gave me the tools to destroy them. The only question now is whether you're smart enough to take the deal I'm offering." Tyler stood, straightening his jacket with the same care he'd once used to hide his family secrets. "You have 48 hours to decide. After that, the offer expires and the consequences begin." Tyler walked out of the restaurant without looking back, leaving his family to contemplate the ruins of their conspiracy. 2 days later, Tyler received 4 signed documents: Amanda's uncontested divorce agreement, Danny's transfer of business assets, his parents' revised will, and a letter of resignation from Danny's position at Morrison Security Solutions. Tyler's children moved back home that weekend, confused and angry, but ultimately relieved to escape the chaos their mother's house had become. Caleb and Emma had questions Tyler couldn't fully answer, but they understood enough. Their father had been hurt by people who should have protected him, and he'd fought back to keep their family together. Amanda entered rehabilitation in Colorado, a facility Tyler selected for its excellent programs and its distance from Chicago. Her treatment would be comprehensive, expensive, and supervised by professionals who reported progress to Tyler's lawyers rather than to Amanda's family. Danny disappeared from Chicago without saying goodbye to anyone, including his parents. Tyler later learned that Danny had moved to Portland, where he worked construction jobs under an assumed name and avoided contact with anyone from his former life. Tyler's parents retained their house, but lost their independence. Frank's construction company was absorbed into Tyler's business empire, operated by managers who reported directly to Tyler. Margaret's volunteer work was replaced by court-ordered community service related to the charity funds she'd borrowed. Brooks' embezzlement trial became a cautionary tale in Chicago's business community about the importance of financial oversight. She was eventually convicted and sentenced to 2 years in federal prison, though Tyler's lawyers ensured she serve her time in a minimum security facility suitable for first-time offenders. Luna Park avoided federal prosecution when her cooperation with law enforcement helped solve several major cybercrime cases. She relocated her operations to Tyler's building, where she managed cybersecurity for Morrison Security Solutions and its expanding roster of clients who appreciated Tyler's comprehensive approach to problem-solving. 1 year after his exile, Tyler Morrison sat in his office overlooking downtown Chicago, reviewing quarterly reports that showed his business had tripled in size. His children were thriving in school, their relationship with their father stronger than it had ever been. Amanda's rehabilitation was progressing well, though Tyler had made it clear that forgiveness was not part of her recovery process. Tyler had learned valuable lessons about trust, family, and the price of naivety. He'd also learned that sometimes the people who hurt you give you exactly the tools you need to rebuild your life better than it was before. His phone buzzed with a message from Danny, the first contact in almost a year. The message was simple: "I'm sorry. Can we talk?" Tyler read the message twice, then deleted it without responding. Some doors, once closed, were never meant to be opened again. Some people, once they chose betrayal, lost the right to ask for forgiveness. Tyler Morrison had rebuilt his fortress, stone by stone, stronger than before. And this time, he knew exactly who belonged inside the walls and who deserved to remain forever outside them. The price of betrayal, Tyler had learned, was exactly what the market would bear. And Tyler had always been very good at market analysis.